Hi guys. Hope you all are having a fantastic day, week, whatever it is for you. I hope you all are having a great evening. Believe it or not, it is actually light outside right now. Hi, Aiden. How are you? Hoping people decide to come in. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I'm good. Hi, Carry Me Through. Hi, Sheldon. Oh, it's been a weird evening. I am not gonna lie. Guys, not complaining, but wow. Today has been an interesting little bit of a day. So we went live today and everything was nice and cool. Um I was getting ready for live just now and I couldn't find anything on the subject for tonight. Very little. So we're going to talk about it. If you have questions, I'm going to dig it up for you. Whoops. Gonna get the poll going. And then we're gonna get busy. And I forget, I can still monitor chat. Yeah, well, that wasn't planned. Like to, hey, Eli Silva? Yeah, I was done. Yep, it is Fen. Hi, Captain E.T. So, let me tell you something that just happened to me. So, my phone basically was dead in the water. It lost its charge since the last live, and I just haven't charged it. So, it was off. Instead of calls going into voicemail, they were being told to check the number and redial again, which is really weird. But anyway, I gotta take care of something real quick. Okay, that was really quick. So in our last live, we talked about bogs. Bogs are really cool. They're cool places, not necessarily to hang out. It wasn't even in the water. It has been really weird for a long while. I also found out that Cricket itself is having some technical difficulties. That could be a part of it. I thought maybe I didn't pay my bill, but I know I did. So yeah, a fen could be closer to a swamp, perhaps. But no, swamps are different. So a swamp is a wetland. A bog is a wetland. A fen is a wetland. But they're all different. Bogs are super acidic. Well, not super acidic. I mean, if you dip your hand in the water, you're not going to pull it out and have bones for fingers. A fen is very different. We have talked about swamps, maybe marshes, bogs, and today we're talking about fens. So a fen is a lot like a bog. But there are differences. They both will lay down peat. We may talk about peatlands after this, carry me through. They rely on groundwater instead of precipitation. So a fen depends on groundwater instead of precipitation. So a lot of times, this groundwater comes up via a spring. So that right there, if you know what a spring is, tells you that this is different than a bog. Like bogs, they are easily damaged and take thousands of years to develop. Hey guys, if you like live so far, make sure you leave a like. Over time, they accumulate a peat soil. So it's still a peat-ish soil. There is also a lack of oxygen, just like we saw in bogs. Fens are often in locations where the water table is close to the ground for much of the year. Fens are different from bogs and not just their sources of water. Fens are fed by water that is often rich in groundwater. I hit the wrong button and I just lost my place. So fens are fed by groundwater. This means that it is not just from the ground, but it's also mineral rich. So there's lots of nutrients in this water. It's also not acidic. The water is either neutral or alkaline. And something you don't see in bogs, the diversity of life is much higher. So, very different from what we saw in a fen, or in the bogs, rather. And just like a fen, there are different types of fens. One of these is a prairie fen, and prairie fens are going to be dominated by sedges, which looks sort of like grass, and grasses. And you can find them in different places throughout the globe. Oftentimes, a fen can be calcium. There's going to be calcium in the groundwater. The flow rate of the water coming out of that spring is going to increase take that back. The flow rate and volume of the water coming from the spring is going to influence the vegetation that you find. Depending upon where you live, you may find that not necessarily. Not all springs are going to have an accompanying fen. And just because you have a spring doesn't mean that you're going to have just because you have a fen doesn't mean that it's going to be spring fed. They can also seep through surface water or rainwater runoff. So it's not necessarily that they're being fed by precipitation, but the runoff. So depending upon where you live, no. A lot of, yeah. Thoughts on the Jamaican oriole bird? I don't know, Captain E.T. I don't know enough about what's going on with it. Um, remember we talked about how if you walked in a quaking bog, it would bounce. That also is what you're also going to find in places with the fens. Fens are not super common. Prairie fens are going to be found predominantly in Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and southern Ontario. Now, those are the prairie fens, but there are other types of fens. There are poor fens. I'd have to look that up. So there are poor fens, which are acidic and nutrient poor. Rich fens, which are nutrient rich. Intermediate fens, which I'm not really going to get into. Calcareous fens, sloping fens, basin fens, and pattern fens. Remember we talked about how most fens have high nutrient rich water feeding them. They have a higher biodiversity. Yes. Yes. Yes, you will. You can. Oh, very cool. Hello, Sheldon's son. A sloping fen, by the way, is very common in California. Hi, Dusty. Dusty Sherbs. Did I say that right? I hope I did. These guys are going to be found, just like it says, at the base of a hill, where groundwater discharges to the surface. And basically, you get groundwater discharging into the fen from above. They can also occur on hill slopes. They can be sloped. The slopes can be gentle. They can be steep, yada, yada, yada. They still require, the sloping fens require a constant flow of groundwater to maintain that soil saturation. Remember, a fen is a wetland. So if they don't have that constant flow, it's not really wetland. Basin fens originate. They start off as a lake or a pond, and we see this with even bogs. where a bog will fill in, a lake will fill in with plant material. Basin fens will do the same thing. And a basin fen will even do something that bogs do. If you walk across a basin fog, or sorry, if you walk across a basin fen, it's gonna quake. It's gonna bounce. Just like we talked about with some of the bogs. If you walk across a basin fog, it's going to bounce. And they will also do something else. Because we're talking about a pond, the water level, if it drops in the pond, it's also going to drop. The fen can rise or sink depending upon the level of the water level. So that is something we don't see in bogs. So those are a couple different types of fens. Another thing that happens with a fen is because they are fed by groundwater, they can be affected by the bedrock. So if it's granite, if the bedrock in that area is granite, your pH levels are going to go bloop. It's going to be lower. Cypress swamps, I believe, are a swamp. Yep, they're a swamp where the dominant tree is bald cypress. There are different classifications of swamps, marshes, fens, bogs, just depending on. With a swamp, a lot of times, or a marsh, it's based on the plant life. A lot of times. Maybe not all the times, but some of the time. If it is limestone that the groundwater is coming up through, it may have a higher pH. If there is volcanic rock or igneous rock associated with the fen, again, you're going to see higher pH. So those are some other things that can affect the fen. A poor fen is going to, you're going to see, by Captain E.T., you're going to see lower diversity. You're not going to see, you're still going to see plants, but these are going to be dominated by sphagnum and other types of mosses. a moderate rich fen is going to be low to moderate as far as alkaline goes. You're still going to have mosses, and you're going to have sedges. And that's going to be sort of the underlying plant life. An extremely rich fen, you are still going to see mosses. No doubt about that. There's a lot of chemistry with these fens, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a chemist. So there is a fen in the Rocky Mountains. I'm not sure where it's located. The peat in that fen accumulates very, very slowly, about 11 to 41 centimeters every 1,000 years. So again, that's 11 to 41 centimeters every 1,000 years. So it's kind of crazy. I don't know what that equates to bogs. I don't know. There is another one on the California coast that's probably around, they think, around 3,000 to 4,000 years old. So it's ancient. Ancient. And I'm sorry, but that's all I have. That's it. So I open the door for you guys to ask questions and see what we can figure out and what we can't. Dusty, it's good to have you if you're still here. Sheldon, how are you? I was worried I wouldn't be able to find as much information. Hopefully Saturday is better. I'm really thinking I'm gonna have to get a new phone. And that scares me a little bit. Because each phone is different. And I don't know what to expect. So questions, comments. I need to get on Facebook. I forgot about that. I can tell you I got 3 messages maybe. A fen? You know, I don't know if I have been to a bog. I don't know if I've ever been to a fen. I don't even know if there was one in my area. That No, that's a bog. Now, see, this says that there's one in the national park in Indiana. That's a fen complex that includes a bog, marsh, and trees. So there are definitely fens within an area of within reach of Chicago. Many of them are protected. Um, yeah, so I'm not gonna say. Yeah, there are Hoosier fens. Um, you would need to search for your state, sort of like I did with Marie Angelina today. I was able to tell her some bogs in her area. There's at least 5 fens, 6 fens in Indiana. Yeah. There's a couple of fens in Illinois. Northern Illinois. But it's very cool. I think the thing that I like is each habitat, each ecosystem is a little bit different, with a little bit different wildlife associated with it. One of these days, maybe I'll get lucky. Oh, I did not tell you my wildlife encounter the other day. So it's nighttime. The garage did not get shut up properly, not closed up properly, anyway. So I told my dad that I would do it. So I went out. I'm trying to do it one handed. And I reach up, grab the rope that helps us to close it up, and a bat goes whoop, right over, right, just close enough to the side of me that I could have reached out and touched it. I've been pretty close to bats. Usually they're roosting in a shrub during the day. It was very interesting. Why do I get... I don't know you. I get strange people. I don't, because I really didn't see it. I wish I did. That's what I'm thinking, Little Brown. What was it that my brother saw? My brother one year was at his garage, and the bat had landed on his garage. It was literally roosting on it. And I think if I remember right, it was this. I can't right now, my brain. Yeah, one of those was actually on my brother's garage, and I think it was probably migrating through, because some bats do migrate. But it's always cool to see the bats. It's 7:39 and it is still light out. I don't know why that surprises me so much. But bats are cool. Bats are the coolest. Bats and owls. And I don't see... I have way more bats than I do owls, so... And don't even get me going on the snakes. I don't see... Very rarely do I more. Like, am I missing something? I can't be this light. Yeah, we have red-shouldered. We have a pair of red-shouldered hawks that nest somewhere nearby. Because you'll see them every once in a while. I don't know, when it's annoying when I go to take a nap. I love springtime, but I also like when it's bedtime or when it's time to take a nap. I don't want the sun bugging me. I need to get myself a black blanket. Or some black sheets to put over my windows. That sounds, I don't know, uncouth. I don't know. I just don't know. Tomorrow, is it a zoo to do? Black blinds would be incredible. But then I'd have to learn how to switch them out. Tomorrow we are doing Learn the Cares. My mom, I would be silenced. I would be silenced. We are doing Malayan tapir and rhinoceros hornbill. Yeah. Or do you mean like the blanket type thing where you put like over your car? Mom is feeling, just FYI, Mom is feeling a little bit better. We had Long John Silver's for dinner. I said a little bit better. I really don't expect her at church on Sunday. That's good, Sheldon. I'm glad to hear that she's feeling better. Like aluminum foil? Yeah, no. I will I have a red sheet over my west facing window. And what's nice is with me being small, I have a queen size blanket. It is coming up really close. So that's what's coming up. I am running super late with videos. So I'm not going to worry about putting one up today, but tomorrow's video is going to be water bear. And then Sunday's video is going to be, I'm going to post Sunday's video and it's going to be animals with restrictive diets. I bet. Yeah. I'm thinking of getting rid of the tank. But I feel like it adds a little bit of something to the background. What I should do is put that in the tank behind me so that you can see it. But you know what? It takes money to do that. And I don't have the money for extras. Now I could do a little. I could take one of these. Sorry, this thing is really gross. I don't even want to open it. But I could take one of these and do a moss terrarium. I got to buy the soil, the plants. I mean, I could figure out how to do clippings off of Mom's spider plant, but I'd still have to have dirt. Nope, I refuse to do that. I could do a moss like thing. But then I'd still have to have light, and I don't. I love doing tanks. I used to have a desert terrarium. And then when I was in college, we had a 55-gallon terrarium. That was fun. It had 3 or 4 different plant species in it. It was so much fun to take care of. I don't even know if they still have it or not. But I don't know what I want to do. But liverworts, that would be cool. I used to know of a place where they grew I would just be worried about not making conditions just right. Liverworts are, I don't know how to explain them. They're sort of like, they're a vascular, they're like a moss, but not a moss. Yeah, I only know of one place myself. Well, yeah, you don't need them. They're not something you eat. Yeah, but they grow on the ground. They're not a rock. It's not like liverwort that you, or that liver sandwich stuff. So I want to do an I want to do a PSA real quick because I saw something in the last week that really made me upset. Um I've never heard that about it. Um but if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're unsure of an identification, what are you even doing going out and picking mushrooms or edible plants? What are you doing? Especially if you're going to be potentially feeding it to somebody. What are you doing? I'm asking. I'm just asking. I'm not putting blame on anybody, but that really sounds like, well, even with plants, if you get the plant wrong with certain plants, it's going to ruin you could ruin somebody's life, potentially their afterlife. And I'm sorry, but if you did that to me, you would have me for the rest of your life. I would be there every single day. I would find a way. Absolutely. Because It's just not cool. Like, I would never, if I had somebody come up to me and go, "Hey, is this edible?" If it's a plant, I might tell you if I knew the answer. But don't come to me about mushrooms. Nope. Nope. If you came to me, even I'm going to tell you, like a morale, I have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. Other mushrooms, it drops down a lot. Hi, Ahmad. FF question mark. Hey, stop saying hi. Because you're spamming my channel. And that'll get you removed from the channel. So please don't do that. Don't delete the messages. At this point, he's been told to stop saying hi. You don't have watching. What are you talking about? If I say hi to you, there's no reason to keep saying hi. I was talking to the few people that I do have in live. That's rude. Extremely rude. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm gosh. Yay, I just love that. Well, the problem is I have no way of knowing how old he is. And honestly, um it makes me want to put it on Hi Vanessa. Um I almost want to, if it wasn't for the few kids that come in that are decent, I'm really tempted to make this so that kids can't come in. Sorry, Vanessa, if you're a kid. But man. And by kid, I mean a teenager down. Ooh, that sounds good, Vanessa. So I babysat this week. I think there are. Um, in my Sunday school class, I have two kids that want to be zoologists, one that wants to be a marine biologist. Some flicker. Yeah, that light. Yeah, Flickr is a photograph app. Oh, okay. Um, but yeah, probably getting back to what we were talking about. Um, they're an awesome bunch of kids. I tried to bring in pieces of my like rocks or minerals or whatever. Hi, Preppy Molly. Hi, Robbie. Oh, oh, that type of lights. Got it. I think. I think. Um, yeah, just leave. I think if you're not an experienced mushroomer or you're not an experienced forager, you should not be picking and eating plants or mushrooms by yourself. I saw a guy who thought he had a onion. Want to say he bit into it, even though it didn't smell like an onion. And he potentially lived in an area where death camas grows. No, 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 no. That is a no. If it doesn't smell like an onion, don't eat it. And if you can't smell it for whatever reason, don't eat it. Just a hint. Don't be that person that puts yourself in the hospital because you make a mistake. And it's easy to do. It really is. Well, I do not know of any plant that smells like onion that isn't onion, or that isn't garlic or wild leek. If it smells like an onion, chances are it probably is edible. But yeah, I don't want to go as on record as saying that it is. But you reduce your chances of making a mistake if you follow that. Well, yeah, but you should even wash the plants that come in from your grocery store. So I'm going to tell a story on myself. And don't be me. Don't be me. When I was a kid, we had a black, I want to say it was American elderberry or common elderberry. Anyway, they were black. And I knew enough to know that you don't eat them green. But they were edible. I was eating them without cooking them. Come to find out, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to cook them. And I didn't know that. So make sure that you're using the plants the right way. Because even if you have the right plants, if you don't use it the right way, you can still make yourself sick. Well, in all honesty, the plant was edible. I had no ill effects. They weren't super sweet, but I liked the flavor. The one thing I know, like, there's just too many things that are out there that could be lookalikes. poison hemlock and Queensland lace, it's not worth it, ladies and gentlemen. It is not worth it. I would go out to say that if you are not 100%, it's a nope. It's like picking up a snake. If you're not 100% sure on its identification, what are you even doing picking it up? It's like in the time it takes you to pick that snake up, and it's already biting you, it's probably too late to be worried if that snake is poisonous. Right, Sheldon? Am I wrong? I just... Nope. You have to... Why is that not... Oh, not again. Hi, Robbie. Oh no, it was definitely elderberry. It was definitely elderberry. Let me Carol? Um Poison hemlock does not smell like licorice. Not the stuff that I've been around anyway. If you crush up one of those plants, one of the leaves, it does not smell like licorice. If you crush up a leaf of poison hemlock, it smells like mouse urine, mouse pee pee. Nope, 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 nope. I Not in my experience it doesn't. Maybe the root does. Maybe the root does, but poke. No, it wasn't poke. The berries that I was eating was definitely they do eat poke down south, but they eat the leaves. Hi Robbie. I was eating elderberry. Queensland lace is not something I've ever eaten. Carry me through. You're talking poison hemlock? Trust me. I've had clothes that have been ruined because the mouse has peed on it. What website? Send me. No, no, I meant mouse pee. Um, don't see my. Hold on. Yeah, a little bit. Penniless parenting? Hmm. Yeah, I have never. Yeah, it's not something you want to. Poison hemlock is definitely not something that smells pretty. There's just too much out there that um there's just too much out there that is not safe. I I've never seen a copperhead, so I cannot relate. Now, now there is a plant that smells like anise or licorice. There is a plant that does. And it's called Sweet Cecilia. It is not fennel. As far as I know, it's either an introduced species or it's a native, but either way, it smells like licorice or anise. We used to have it growing in our yard. Sheldon? Sorry, I'm like, I don't think the two go together. I got you. But yeah, you really got to know what you're doing. Because, like, there are mushrooms. There are some mushrooms that they'll give you 48 to 72 hours of nothing. And then you have symptoms, and by that time, it's too late. Or you'll have mushrooms where you have a day of you're gonna die, and then it lets up, and then you have another day, and then you're dead. I'm sorry, I don't like those odds. I like the odds with plants. Well, at least I know this plant is edible. I have actually tried, and I have it on video. I actually tried fuchsia berries. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. There are much better things out there than fuchsia berries. I've never heard that. They say not to eat white berries. Because strawberries are white, or strawberries are red, and so are raspberries sometimes. You can't go by color other than white berries. If you see a white berry, I definitely would not eat them. The best thing you can do. Hi, Sabina Karki. The best thing you can do is to know your plants. And if you don't know your plants, then you have no business eating them. I said hi. Plain and simple. There are no there aren't really any things that I know. No, I don't think the answer is to stay out of the woods. The answer is not to the answer isn't to stay out of the woods. The answer is to know the plants that live in your neighborhood. Know the plants that grow in your yard. Juniper berries are a mixed hat. Because there are some things that taste awful, but are edible. And I'm sorry, if it means that I'm going to stay alive, I might eat it. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about it in here, but there is a plant that I know of. The fruit itself is totally edible. Eat the seed, not so edible. In fact, it's really, really, really not edible. In fact, your best bet is just not eat the fruit. But yeah. If you're one of those people that just has to, like if you're one of those people that just has to get out and has to try, these are your best friends. These are your best friends. Now, I'm not saying that the books always get it right. Moonseed, you should not eat at all. I don't even know if the fruit itself is edible. I'm not sure what chemical is in the seed that I'm talking about. You know what? It actually says well, I don't know. Yeah, this one covers I don't really like this book. It's more a worldwide book. But it covers a wide range of stuff. I like this one. this one actually covers poisonous plants as well, which I love. Because you need to know the edible and the non-edible too. And I just want to add, and then we're going to close up because I'm tired a little bit. And I want to relax a little bit before I go to bed. Just because a book says that a plant is edible doesn't mean that you can't be allergic to it. So you probably should not be playing with it, because it could make potentially really hurt you. So leave if you don't know what they are. Bottom line. And with that, I will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And yeah, I will see you at 1 o'clock. Goodbye. Goodbye, guys. Adios. Sheldon, it was nice to see your son. Good night.